I thought signing my divorce papers was the moment I finally escaped my nightmare. I was wrong, because just minutes after leaving the courthouse, I uncovered a secret my mother-in-law had carefully hidden for years. She hadn't only damaged my marriage, she had quietly placed 27 employees inside my father's company, each one connected to her. I immediately called my dad and said, "You need to look at everyone she brought into this business." He thought I was overreacting until we found the evidence. What we discovered revealed a shocking plan that could have taken control of everything my father built. My name is Emily Carter, and I was 29 years old when I discovered that the people closest to me were hiding secrets that would completely change my life. For years, I believed I had everything figured out. I had a loving family, a successful career, and a marriage that looked perfect from the outside. But sometimes the biggest betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who know exactly where your weaknesses are. My father, Daniel Carter, built Carter Industries from the ground up. He started with a small office, a handful of employees, and a dream that most people thought was impossible. Through decades of hard work, long nights, and difficult decisions, he turned that small company into one of the most respected businesses in the industry. But my father always made one thing clear to me. "Emily, my company is not your shortcut. If you want success, earn it yourself." And I respected him for that. I never wanted people to think I only succeeded because of my last name. I worked hard, created my own career, and stayed away from getting involved in my father's business decisions. Then I met Jason. At the beginning, Jason was everything I thought I wanted. He was thoughtful, ambitious, and made me feel like I had finally found someone who saw me for who I really was. Not Daniel Carter's daughter, just Emily. When we got married, I truly believed I was starting the next chapter of my life with my best friend. But after our wedding, another person slowly became more involved in our lives. Jason's mother, Victoria. At first, Victoria was exactly what anyone would want in a mother-in-law. She was polite, intelligent, and always knew how to make people feel important. She complimented my father's company constantly and acted like she genuinely admired everything he had built. "I just want to see this company reach its full potential," she would say. I believed she meant well. Then she started offering suggestions. She would mention talented professionals she knew, people with experience, people who could supposedly help my father improve different areas of the company. My father trusted her because she was family. That was the first mistake. One recommendation became several. Several became dozens. And before anyone realized it, 27 employees connected to Victoria had joined different departments inside my father's company. At the time, nobody questioned it. They looked qualified. Their resumes were impressive. They spoke confidently and seemed dedicated to helping the business grow. But slowly, I started noticing things that didn't feel right. Whenever there was a disagreement about company decisions, those employees always supported Victoria's opinions. Whenever my father made a major decision, somehow Victoria already knew about it. And whenever I brought up my concerns, everyone acted like I was imagining things. Even Jason. "Emily, you're being unfair," he told me one night. "My mother is only trying to help your family." But deep down, I felt something was wrong. The woman who claimed she wanted to protect my father's company seemed to be gaining more and more influence over it. And at the same time, my marriage was falling apart. Jason became distant. Arguments became normal. And every conversation somehow ended with him defending his mother. Eventually, I made the hardest decision of my life. I filed for divorce. I thought I was walking away from a broken marriage. I thought the pain was finally ending. I had no idea the divorce would become the one thing that exposed the biggest secret my family had ever faced. The day my divorce became official, I expected to feel sadness. After all, ending a marriage is never easy. Even when you know the relationship is broken, there is still a part of you that remembers the promises you made, the years you shared, and the future you once imagined. But when I walked out of that courthouse, I felt something else. Freedom. For the first time in years, I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to defend my feelings. I didn't have to pretend everything was fine when deep down I knew it wasn't. I thought that was the beginning of my new life. I had no idea it was also the beginning of uncovering the truth. That afternoon, I called my father. Dad, can I come see you? There's something I need to talk about. He immediately noticed something was different. Emily, are you okay? I took a deep breath. I think we need to look into something at the company. There was a pause. What kind of something? I told him it was about Victoria, about the 27 employees she had brought in, about the way they always seemed connected to her, about the strange feeling I had carried for years but never had enough proof to explain. At first, my father was quiet. Then, he said something I'll never forget. Emily, those employees were recommended by someone I trusted. I know, Dad. But what if that trust was misplaced? The next morning, I walked into my father's office for the first time in months. Looking around, I saw everything he had built. The framed awards on the walls. The photos from the company's early days. The desk where he had made thousands of decisions that shaped his future. And suddenly, I wondered how many decisions had already been influenced without him knowing. We started with the employee records. At first, everything looked normal. Every person had qualifications. Every person had experience. Every person had a reason why they appeared to belong. But then we started looking deeper. We compared hiring dates, connections, previous employers, recommendations. That was when the pattern appeared. Many of those 27 employees had worked with people connected to Victoria before. Some had professional relationships with her. Others had been recommended through the same small network. They weren't random hires. They were carefully selected. My father leaned closer to the documents. Emily, how did we miss this? I didn't have an answer, because that was the part that hurt the most. We trusted her. We welcomed her. We gave her access because she was family. Then we looked at where those employees were placed inside the company. That discovery changed everything. They weren't spread around randomly. They were positioned in departments where they could influence important decisions. Finance, operations, management, human resources. Areas where information moved quickly and where decisions could shape the entire future of the company. My father became more serious with every file we reviewed. This isn't about hiring employees, he said quietly. No, I replied. It's about influence. The more we investigated, the more questions appeared. Projects had shifted directions. Certain managers had lost authority. New policies had been pushed forward by groups of employees who all had connections to Victoria. It felt like someone had slowly moved pieces across a chessboard while everyone else was distracted. Then we found something that made my stomach drop. Several internal recommendations had been created by these employees, and many of them directly benefited departments controlled by people closest to Victoria. That was the moment my father realized this wasn't just a family issue. It was a company issue. But before we could finish reviewing everything, Victoria found out what we were doing. That evening, she arrived at my house. She didn't knock politely. She walked in angry. You're trying to destroy everything, she shouted. For the first time, I didn't feel intimidated. I looked at her calmly. No, Victoria. I'm trying to understand what happened inside my father's company. She stared at me. You're doing this because you're angry about the divorce. I shook my head. This has nothing to do with my divorce. This is about the truth. Her expression changed because she realized something. The person she thought she could control was no longer afraid. And as she walked away that night, I knew we were getting closer to the answer. But I still didn't know the biggest secret was waiting for us in the records we had not yet reviewed. The next few days changed everything. My father and I continued reviewing the documents, and the more we uncovered, the clearer the picture became. Victoria had not simply wanted to help my father's company. She wanted influence. The 27 employees she brought in were not just talented professionals looking for opportunities. They were people she trusted, people who shared her vision, and people who slowly created a network of loyalty inside a company that was never supposed to belong to her. She had built a system where she could control conversations, shape decisions, and know what was happening before anyone else. And the most painful part was realizing how carefully she had done it. She never demanded control openly. She didn't walk into my father's office and tell him what to do. She smiled. She offered advice. She acted like she was protecting the company. That was what made it so dangerous. My father was devastated. Not because he had lost money. Not because his company was in danger. But because someone he considered family had taken advantage of his trust. I treated her like my own daughter, he told me. I didn't know what to say, because I had spent years feeling the same way. I thought Victoria cared about me. I thought she wanted the best for our family. But sometimes people don't reveal who they are through their words. They reveal it through their actions. After confirming everything through a full internal review, my father made the difficult decision to restructure the company. Every employee connected to Victoria was investigated properly. Those who had done nothing wrong were treated fairly. But anyone involved in manipulating decisions or misusing their position was removed. Slowly, the company started becoming itself again. The strange tension disappeared. People who had been afraid to speak started sharing their concerns. My father finally had control over the business he had spent his entire life building. And Victoria? Her carefully planned strategy collapsed. For years, she believed she was always one step ahead. She believed she could influence everyone around her. But she never expected one thing: that her own son's divorce would give me the courage to stop staying silent. Jason eventually reached out. He admitted he had spent years defending his mother without questioning her actions. He apologized for not listening when I first expressed my concerns. But by then, too much had happened. Some things can be repaired. Some things cannot. Looking back, I realized my divorce wasn't the end of my life. It was the moment I finally started living honestly. I lost a marriage, but I found the truth. I lost someone I trusted, but I protected something my father spent decades building. And I learned a lesson I will never forget. Sometimes the biggest betrayal comes from the person standing closest to you. But sometimes, the moment everything falls apart is also the moment you finally become free.